Small.
I started recording.
This is what it costs.
Alright, we're gonna have Wyomissing row. And then. Or not. Yeah, simple, not at all. Okay, we're gonna, call to order the planning and safety commission. We are being recorded for public consumption. Right now we don't have a quorum, but we'll chat and maybe we'll get here. We do have a few things that we were supposed to make motions on, but they can also wait if needed. Is there any public comment? Summer plans, what do you guys have for us? Anything happen? Anything going on that needs to be discussed?
I'll start the conversation based on just to kind of give some backstory on why I added it to the agenda.
Oh, good, then I'm glad I did this.
Not seeing really outbreak in any spot of land. I'm seeing some, but there's no outbreak.
If you want to, since you know your notes on this, you can on this part, but I'm going to explain why I put it on, and I'll say what you.
We did, I don't know exactly, about 110. There was some other crossing and a few other trees. Then the other problem we come up with this time of year, starting at this time of year, bacterial leaf scorch, and due to being a little moister this year, I'm suspecting we might not see as much. That's usually when it's drier, we get into a drought situation, it's spread a little more. I'm hoping that's not happening this year. We lost some trees due to it. We always do. There's always a few. They're affected by it though. That's when it comes to the disease and insects. We did a contract list. They're basically done. They have one tree in the parkland yet to do, and I added 2 other trees. Some improvements for Marcus to do. They're big trees that are really, I feel, unsafe, and I don't want to go much longer. One's leaning way over the house. I don't know if you guys looked at it, but yeah, they're questionable. So let's get them down before we have storm damage. In fact, storm damage, I think we did good this year. You know, we had some storms. The first major storm.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah, it was basically just pears and some maples. And that's common when it comes to heavy winds.
Invasive trees.
Yeah, we're slowly getting rid of the pears. So we have a lot of pears over in the hills area that a lot of people were complaining about, so we're going to slowly get rid of them. Hopefully in the next 3-4 years we won't have too many. And the last one that we had is really more private stuff. We're getting some, due to the humidity and moisture, folks will drop their lungs if there's any defects that we can't determine. That does happen, and I mean, out of 7,500 trees plus, I can't always see one bad level. Otherwise, we're just basically working on a request, which is pruning and removals. Do you have any questions?
I just want to congratulate you on removing the one near the high school before school started. Yeah. When I was on the school board, West Reading would wait to do street work around West Reading Elementary until about the week before school reopened. So to see that you do it at least 6 weeks before school opened is great.
Anybody have anything else? You got anything for us?
Doing the playground mulch and the playgrounds. We did road mowing, a lot of weeding in the beds, bed mulching. We did tree and limb cleanup as well from some storm related stuff. We put some stone in the parking lot, the Highlands parking lot, and we put some stone in the quarry parking lot. A ton of weeding. We helped out for the fort. We did the bridge reconstruction on the footbridge behind the pool. Took all the wood, redid everything on that from the steel up. right-of-way mowing a couple weeks ago, along with the right-of-way mowing, we cut what we could. It's exceptionally wet this year. We do have to have a good bit of tree cleanup and like limb cleanup and elevation. And we also started working on a new trail going up from the old mill parking lot Monday of this week. Going very well. We have the bulk of it's all out, the bulk of the materials all in. I can't get the last load of stone until Monday, Tuesday, and we're gonna finally grade it next week.
Is that trail closed then currently, or
Only
is
where
it
we're working.
right where you're working?
Well,
Or do you have them on the
when we're
original
working,
trail?
we have the work area signs, we have the trail closed, so they can go up the grass trail to reroute that while we're working. When we're done working, we just put the trail closed where the new trail is to try to keep people off of the new trail. If we can, basically, we try to leave it so it's not, holes or rough. We try to make it so smooth and roll in. They can walk on the old trail when we're gone. Like, that's what we're doing. That's one thing too. A shout out to Martin. They got up and took that tree down ahead of time. That worked out fantastic. So they were in there cutting it out while we weren't working in each other's way. The regular equipment and repairs, truck inspections, and the routine equipment hourly maintenance is the bulk of what we've been doing. And there's a ton of other items there.
Really appreciate your improvements to the parking lot. I mean, the Highlands, they're filling in the stone and smoothing it out so you don't have that swimming hole in the middle of it. Putting the macadam up the last couple of days. There's some new macadam on the driveway, so we're not loosening our molars by walking by driving in.
We tried to put that in the center and scrape it away so it runs out
Much
of there.
better.
And I didn't realize that we didn't know that the black on was so they had to get some pads and some things. So it took a little bit till they got that put in there. So
It is much better, so thank you very much.
I haven't seen it since they put the pads in there. Just little work on the trail and stuff.
Yes, but thank you.
Can I ask you, when are we doing the work, the sewer work across from the Meadows parking lot where Singing Spring was working? Where they had their construction next to the pool there?
That should start sometime in August. I would say second, third week in August,
Okay.
I guess.
The trucks are frequently now.
That would be their big area also.
Right, and then
And
when
then we'll
will
talk
that,
about
and then we'll
parking.
talk about parking.
And I would suspect that'll probably go into early winter. I would say it's a spring thing for us.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Just curious. Hi, do you have anything for us?
Oh, wait. Number C on the agenda under summer plans. I added that.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of twofold. One, going into implementation of the parkland study, I think there needs to be a conversation and understanding as to we have dedicated park staff, but the amount of time they actually are able to spend in the parklands because they get pulled into other areas under the umbrella of public works. Maybe starting to build the case for not necessarily 26, but 27 and future years of the need to hire additional Parks Department staff. And then also just a conversation in terms of when they're out weeding or mulching or doing things outside of the park area or sometimes even in the park area. Like, how long did it take you to do that parking lot project with the macadam? Because like in my head, I hear you say that, and I'm like, oh, that's like 2 or 3 hours of work.
Parking lot with the macadam.
Yes.
The road department actually did. They put the pads in there for that. Like we did the stone, so we kind of worked together over that because they have the truck that has it that can heat that to put it in there, so they came over.
But my point being, even the two of you working together, that wasn't like a 1 hour project. That's
Oh,
Yeah.
no, that's, you got 2, 3
Oh.
hours all the time on getting the material ready, getting the things ready, getting there, actually doing the work, and getting back and putting up the way you there's a half a day. More.
So then to add to that,
So what I'm noticing, and I pulled random timesheets. This one's from May. And the park guys spent 163 hours doing street-related work. They did 20 hours, and this is a 2-hour pay period, 2-week pay period. They did 20 hours out of all 4 of them of parks work, and then 99 hours of playgrounds, borough buildings, firehouse, things like that. And it's kind of consistent. Here's March, 96 hours of street work, 80 hours of park work, and 68 hours of playgrounds, borough buildings. It's the buildings and grounds. If we can get these guys out of that, and I mean, all the work they do, look at what they do with what little time they're actually there. If they had the time to be there, it would be a lot better.
and I think it goes back to the argument, we're sending all this, we spent the money on the study, now we're gonna spend the money to implement it, we're gonna ask for grant funding to do some of the bigger projects. If there's no long-term upkeep, much less staff to actually do the upkeep, we're wasting money.
So Parks has the staff, the other folks don't.
I think
Because
You
you're
kinda gotta-
pulling them away.
Yeah, we gotta fill the buildings and grounds and see,
Right.
because I think we're gonna have more expectations of what we're expecting from the parks, because we're starting
Right.
that
It
ball.
doesn't sound like you need to hire more for parks, it sounds like you need to hire more for buildings and grounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then the one that really got me was 215 hours in June. That's how much time they spent in the streets, the park guys. And that should be like a prime time for parks. So and those are just randomly picked.
And those street things is mostly roadside mowing.
Yeah, road mowing. They were doing some of the spraying for the guys, but now we've got some of those guys with licenses, so they're doing the spraying. Yeah, what do you guys do out in the streets besides road mowing? I mean, it could be the malls. You know, the malls were somehow lumped into the parks. Well, the malls are out by the streets, but B&G could pick up that kind of stuff, and you could be more efficient.
And you're also missing the two, kind of go without saying, but leaf collection and snow removal.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all hands on deck.
yeah. See, we're almost out of time. You know what I mean? Come the end of August and stuff, you got to have your stuff wrapped up. And again, it's all weather dependent. This year's been tough, and these 2 departments they've been kicking ass with the heat and the rain and the workload. You guys are doing great. Everybody's maxed out.
That's where I was talking to you about figuring out if I can bring some small groups of volunteers in to do this, that, or the other, or something in the parklands, removals or cleanup or something that I can get.
Dwayne and I talked this morning a little bit, and he was mentioning under the pines, you know, that always ends up, you know, littered with stuff, and people could go through there and pick up sticks and do things
Well, and
like
also
that.
the lower branches that are broken, have they been cut back or no? They're all sort of eye level, they're like branches sticking out on the pines that are just all needs to be cleaned up. Right.
Edges around here, there's a little bit of, we should do, spraying, application there for what's coming up.
I would think depending on who you get for volunteers, that they could obviously pick up sticks and put them in piles where you guys can chip them. And those
And
lower
saw the
branches,
lower
if we
branches
could
off, yeah.
give them a pole saw.
Yeah, we can saw the lower branches off and, you know, like we could do a good cleanup there. I think we're working on it.
And that's something we get calls on, you know, from different people from time to time.
That want to help or that
Well, that are, you know, they have concerns and they're like, hey, you know, this is, you know, there's a stick sticking out here or, you know.
Yeah, that's an easy thing for me to organize, plan, and get people out for, because it's not, you know, if I just give you a heads up, come up with a time frame, and just so you, like, we can gather the sticks in bunches, and then you come through and we can work, okay. We can work that out.
Get it gathered up and from like the center or the internal, like towards the edges.
Right.
So we can, get, and there's, you got block after block after block of pine, there's a lot of area.
Yeah, okay. That's the first step, that's something I can do with these guys. Cause I have like 25 to 30 plus volunteers on hand. 25 to 30 on my list already. You know, how many can come on a given day of time, but that's the goal, is to make that list as big as possible, so. Okay, we can make that happen. Good starting point, and then I can go from there, and I think of anything.
You don't need any supplies, which is nice.
Yeah, I don't really need supplies, I
Let
just
us
need a
know what
plan
you
as to where you
saw.
want the sticks to go, maybe if you guys have some full saws, like, I know I have one. Safety goggles, yeah.
A wheelbarrow or something if they want to throw
Yeah.
sticks in. Or, yeah. I have for volunteers and stuff. I have a form they have to fill out.
Oh, we have, okay, I was told we didn't need forms, but that's fine. We can- that's-
If they're doing work, it makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
Fine.
Ah,
How many
sorry.
people should start with?
Give them all some chainsaws.
Well, if
Loose
you
chains.
need poles on or something, like, we don't have that in our stuff as well.
Right,
Yeah, so you
okay, yeah. The people who wanna help, I think I have some supplies
have
too.
poles on.
Yeah, the lockers for the small sticks, if they're dead, they're not gonna be hard to get down. Okay. Make that
There
happen.
is one there that's green.
Okay. All right, why don't I set up an email with you guys, just to figure out like a good time, what you think I need, maybe we can run over there at some point in the upcoming weeks, take a look, and then I can pick a date, plan this. That would be the goal of the outreach committee, okay. Fantastic. Yeah, the goal is if you guys are that short staffed and we need to work long-term, which is gonna take a little while to bring more staff in. Is that where money's coming from? Then in the meantime, at least I can get volunteers out and help implement some of this stuff. Okay. Anything else on some of things?
We're good.
All right, you have any updates for us, Lucy?
Although the bluebirds have a lot of success in the park this year, right now there are 3 bluebird groups coming along, so there may be more. And we've had so much chickadee interest in our nest boxes. I would really love to put up, 1 or 2 dedicated chickadee boxes next year, because they're a little different. And this last week, a new bunch of 6 chickadee eggs appeared in box 24, and they've tried there 3 times, and every time it's been predated. So,
Is it a different kind of box
well,
than the?
number one, the entrance hole could be smaller
Okay.
and keep out, the tree swallows or some of the birds that might compete. Yeah, they could be smaller. But it's been interesting to see. They've been attracted to 10 of our boxes this year. So a lot of our boxes are in chickadee territory.
Is that you were thinking about moving some of the boxes somewhere else, and that was more conducive to the?
If we could find more bluebird type habitat.
Right. And then add chickadee boxes there.
Opportunities.
Okay.
But it's hard, our park, we've got some open meadows, but not that much.
Would you want to add washers or something to the holes to make them smaller? So that chickadees could get in where these big predators could
You
not?
can put hole reducers on, but again, I wouldn't really want to do that with our brand new nest boxes that we put up this year. And anyway, I haven't investigated in great depth about, what chickadees like in more likely to be attracted and be successful. But the tree swallows have had a banner year, at least 28, have fled from our boxes, and they're still a little bit busy, although the tree swallows are leaving them. And I look at the Pennsylvania Breeding Bird Atlas project has this marvelous document where they're telling folks who are out doing observations specifically of breeding birds in Pennsylvania. You can look by month by week for each species of bird that breeds in Pennsylvania and see whether, if you see a bird, a bluebird here in from the third week of March to the fourth week of April, it could be either a migrant still passing through or a breeding bird. But see a bluebird in your area from the first week of May through the second week of August, and they're breeding. They're there because they're breeding. And so on. They kind of tell you when they might be migrants, when they might be breeding, or when they might be either. So it's kind of interesting. But the tree swallows, they start migrating through here the second week of July. They're pretty much gone by the third week of August. They're the first species to leave. But yeah, we'll have one, at least one more meeting in about a month when things are really wound down to do a recap and plan for next year.
Yeah. And then if you, at some point, if you want to discuss the movement of boxes or the possible addition of tree boxes, so we can plan over the winter to take that through before the season starts.
Right. I mean, us monitors to be thinking about, the boxes that they've experienced this year, their boxes. What suggestions they would make, what priorities they would put on maybe their changes. So, yeah, we'll look at our heads together on that.
Do we have the right things for them to eat?
For the what?
For them to eat. I don't know what they eat. If they eat plant matters, are there things we should plant? Are there?
Oh. I mean, it depends on the time of year. When they're raising young, it's insects. They need the high, and especially for proteins. White oaks, we plant more white oaks.
Maybe we should think about that in conjunction with the.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right. The education subcommittee, which is Nate, myself, Jack Dubeck, who is one of our new alternatives, and Danielle Newfer met in July. And just started discussion of signage. We got the information from Randy with all the historical stuff. We were talking about different signs that we want to try to create. When is the deadline for, when do we want to have
We have
this
to
stuff ready to be
I mean,
production?
we have to spend the money by roughly, let's just to be on the safe side, June 1st of 26.
Right, okay. I thought we had like at least a window.
So, I mean, not knowing one fabrication, so we're fabricating the signs in-house, I would
Right.
say err on the side of caution 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah, depending on the time of year, if we can do it over the winter time, that'd be ideal.
Definitely. And then, yeah, so what's the production? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is over the winter when things are dying down and there's Nate's working less and like people have a little bit more time, that's when the education committee can sort of narrow some of this down and bring it back.
I would say to be on the safe side, you should probably have final design to them by the end of this year. Because if there's a delay for any reason, or but my thought is if we get a crazy winter that they don't have time to work on it or something else crops, like I would rather they have 5 months to get it done than 2.
I mean,
Do them all at the
we
same
need to
time.
spend the money by June.
We got all of the grant funding I mean, so the funding is coming through multiple pots, but effectively they were all awarded within a 4 to 6 week time period.
All I'm getting at is if this trail work at the old mill parking lot is happening shortly. What is, yeah, it's almost done. Well, and planting of the trees. Yeah, to take the fall. It would be great if we could experiment with one build right, for that specific site. So, hey, that worked well, now we can do the others.
You want us to start building one?
I think what we need to figure out, even as a group, is what does the trail sign look like versus what do the informational signs look like? Some of the ones that you guys have sent were the tall, narrow ones that had information on them. There's, wide ones that will give you a plethora of like, this is a riparian buffer, and this is what it's made of, and this is what it does, and this is why it's here, and or do we just have, the trail name? So that's.
I think it'd be important for the first phase that we're in now to be as descriptive as possible, and then I think eventually people are gonna understand what we're doing.
Right.
So that could reduce some signage.
Yeah, like these are the ones I think we discussed.
Yeah, that was the original one, and then you had given me a bunch of sort of wide ones with information about that. That'll give more. If you're learning about riparian buffers, you kind of want something wide and paragraphs and images versus.
So these are gonna be
Oh,
more
it's getting-
permanent.
Right. Well, so would the big sort of riparian buffer sort of signs I thought, where you could do something that was a little wider that had information like that, habitats. We talked about, talking about what invasives are, meadow management, timed mowing, riparian buffers. These are different permanent signs that could be put in different parts of the parklands based on the information versus the location.
Although
Those,
even with the vertical ones, there's a lot of room on both sides. Sides can have different information. I wouldn't put it next to the fence, so that
yeah, you can
that
see it
can
on.
really have as much information as a wide one.
And I guess I'm a little confused because these were the only ones we actually presented to the committee that we had talked
Whereas
about.
some information was sent along, I guess I should say. Like you had sent me images of.
Yeah, but mainly as an example, we're not talking this, we were talking these, and I don't know.
You guys want them tall and skinny. Okay.
I never talked
I
to
only
Mike
saw
and
these.
Clancy about like those to me, those, I know what you're talking about, the typical signs that you see in like a parkland. I don't know that they can fabricate
I
them.
only showed them these.
Yeah.
And gave them the specs for these.
Okay. You don't think that would basically be the same thing, but flat, and then the vinyl would go.
I just don't know what the materials are for that.
The museum has stuff like that. I looked at this morning.
You have plexiglass on top of it.
It was
Yeah.
just, it was nasty.
I just look at this, which is fine. I look at this and go, I'm not gonna read all the way down to the bottom, then I gotta crouch down. Well, I'm not crouching down.
Yes and
I want
no.
somebody-
Depends on how tall they are, but you can only get so much information in an aerospace.
Yeah, because that's probably a 5 foot high split rail fence. And
That's a lot.
So you're at 3 feet up to 6 feet.
You can make it a little wider, and it doesn't have to be that.
No.
I think it's a better look than shortened.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to do, so that's what we're sort of looking at. Now, trail-wise, are we just putting that on, like, Larry had said at one point, like, street sign post, you post, with signs that we could add other signs to? Well, yeah, they're all gonna have native,
names.
plant signs, names, and they'll all look the same, but if they're all on a U post with just sign. Yeah, I mean, if there's.
Can you pull that over there? That's the sign.
The one I just had up?
Yeah.
These are to see you.
Yeah, it's just, what do we do with it? Are we gonna put?
Well, I could talk to the guys and see, they might be able to fabricate something a little slimmer with the trail, you know what I mean? Like, I agree with you, Randy, it should
Yeah,
be
I mean, that
consistent.
would be ideal.
And I would safely say they could do something for sure.
The other option is you could have these informational signs at the trailheads, and are they able to do the cutouts up top?
They.
That's what the name?
It depends on what the design is, because they were saying that's like a
Intricate.
CNC machine
Yeah.
type thing.
Oh, yeah, that's.
So it depends on what we want. Are we doing a W for Wyomissing, or what are we?
That's
Depends.
what I don't know, and I think that's where we have to clarify, but in the meantime, we were coming up with informational sign, we've already started to work on that, and names of park signs, or names of trail signs. Nate has created a map for it, and now we're trying to sort of somewhat, I know we're keeping Winter's Way, but somewhat associate whatever trail it is with maybe a native that's actually growing in that sort of area, and if not, we just give it to something else. So we'll have the names.
If you're changing names.
We're gonna have to
Yeah, we're
redo the
gonna
map.
have to create a new map. I mean, some of the trails are even moving, so they're gonna have to be redrawn. That's not something I can create.
No, we've always done that in-house. We have the template from the current one.
Yeah, so just moving.
Oh,
Pre-oxidized.
rusty.
Yeah, some other information we wanted to put in the kiosks are talking to people about using iNaturalist and having a talk on that.
Could I say something about the kiosks?
Yes.
The ones we have, not good.
Yeah, they're not.
So I
Just
didn't
better
know.
than what we had.
They're not going to last nearly as long. I didn't know if that was something you guys were going to take a look at while we're.
And everything else.
Yeah, because there's a kiosk there where we're starting it. It's just
I
something.
thought that was sort of hopefully in the signage budget of whatever we're spending.
Not.
I don't think it's not.
No, these, I mean, we called out in the grant application specifically informational signs and trail marker signs.
Well, kiosk is an informational sign, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is. You're putting information in there. Because we were talking about the different things we wanted to put in there. iNaturalist in the short term, the kiosks that are up, we want to put mosquito information out, stuff like that. So it is an informational sign.
Okay.
The calendar of events would go in there, what's happening in parklands or parks or wherever.
Do you want us to look for some options, or you guys want to look for some options?
Yeah, or if you can give me a direction of where to look for options in terms of a municipal purchase or some
Uline.
finding something on Amazon. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, ideally we are replacing them too if we can afford it.
No, we don't have any left. We put them all up, right?
I think there were only two.
I think there was only two that he had.
Yeah.
And we have three up, right?
Yeah.
Two. That's what I thought. So we do have one in storage.
We have one in storage.
Yeah. Should put on municipal.
Sell it.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Somebody will buy it.
Just going back to the informational signs and what would they have to cut into the steel. One needs to be something relatively basic. But if somebody could come up with some sort of shape or design that would be consistent, put it in the kiosk, put it on the sign, put it on that there's some Wyomissing parkland, something that there's consistency with all that stuff.
Create a uniform
Logo.
design.
Kind of like a
Logo, you need a logo.
The Indian from the.
Yeah.
Make one
That
that's
would be
not too
tough.
detailed.
Just an outline, just for outline. Couldn't do it for what?
I mean, we have a plasma cutter. That's the extent.
Yeah, we will get all that rolling.
When I sent you those sizes, were you guys gonna develop the template?
Yes.
And what's the plan for rollout?
I don't know. I mean, there's stuff there in the kiosks now. So until we update that, I think the goal is to do it quickly and soon. Because I know Nate wants to get mosquito stuff out there. I had it, it's too hot for me. I haven't gone to the park yet, so I don't know what kiosks look like right now. Yeah, I'll go
There's a
out.
lot of information in there.
Yeah.
Some
If
old.
there's anything that's old and can be ripped down, then we can just rip it down.
Well, I think that's what Greg and I talked about, is somebody needs to lead that, like, I don't, it's not my decision, it's not his decision. We didn't put that stuff up.
I
Some
put
of
that
it is
stuff up.
dated.
We just put in what we were
2005.
told at the committee to put in, and now it's out of control.
I'll look at it, see what since you're there also.
Yeah, I'll take pictures tomorrow.
Yeah. Janet, like, works great.
You just love my pictures.
Are we gonna get an email?
Yes, you will.
I'll be copied.
It's a good email this morning.
And lastly on that, as bad as it looks as cluttered, it's gonna look just as bad as it's empty. When they're empty, they look like they're forgotten. So I think what I'm mentioning,
Coming
building a plan is come up with something to put in there.
Well, if you show me the picture of what's there, I can also say, well, this can stay, this can stay. We'll get the mosquito stuff in there. You get a calendar of events in there, and we can fill it up pretty quickly. Shouldn't be fun. High naturalist information is. Yeah, that can happen for me. Penn State, we're on hold. Brian Lang is away until July 28th. When he returns, we're gonna set up a meeting with Brian, myself, and Nate are gonna meet with Brian and some faculty over at Penn State to try and come up with some collaborative planning ideas. They wanna look into research and recreation. They're willing to, if we can take some of the natives that we have on site, collect seeds, and then they can take them to the greenhouse, propagate them so you can get them growing in the greenhouse, and then bring them back and plant them. Like some of the stuff that the students at Penn State can work on is like a long-term project. Seeing if they can help us with continued signage development for the kiosks and stuff like that, as well as just physical labor, like coming in, come in and help, just continuing silt grass, honeysuckle, like timed cutbacks and stuff like that to help support you guys. But we're just gonna have a preliminary talk with the faculty there, like 3 or 4 of them, to see what we both come up with, and then sort of come back to all of you and say, this is what we're thinking, what are your thoughts? What's gonna work? And that's really it. We looked to setting up social media, but we can't set up a new account, so we're just gonna work with the rec board account, through Randy, and yeah, all those things. So yeah, we're trying to meet monthly, which, anybody has any other questions about that? They brought it up, that's basically, he started talking about, I don't really know, I looked on the website, but this is where he was starting to talk about development of the mosquito control service. And he wanted to put out a series of posts on social media, in the kiosks that say this is where the mosquitoes are hiding. It's not just in the bucket or the pail of water that's on top of your firewood, it's in the English ivy growing in the ground and like all these different places where the mosquitoes breeding, how you can control them in your own home without spraying. Try and control versus spray. So you have to spray kind of thing.
National Park and one of the initiatives here done by Doug Holloway. And I understand, trying to get people to understand that it's the only place, that we catalog to support wildness is our national parks for group because so much of our land is in private hands. And we have the opportunity, each of us on our own little plot, to do those things that will help sustain wildlife into the future. And I think you do a certain amount and you can upload on the website what you've done and
It's like the amount of acreage, yeah, like it'll say, in this area, this person has, a third of an acre of natural native plants. I was kind of spitting around on there. Okay, it seems cool. And that's what Nate's been trying to do with our newsletters too, is associating the parklands to what we do in our own gardens as well. So if there's no other questions on that, any other questions? Outreach, the only thing I have updated on outreach is I sent out the outreach email that you guys also again soon after I talk to these guys about getting people in the pines, and when we get a date sort of a little closer for the repairing buffer planting in the fall, I'll send out another email, see who I get on board.
Just had another thought for volunteer. It's kind of part related, but when this whole MS4 thing started, we were painting the inlets in the street that said no dumping, just to get general awareness, whatever goes down there when it gets to the creek. And we haven't done anything with that in a long time. Now, if we got a stencil, they could go out with stencil.
Right, that's where, yeah, like we had talked to Larry and I talked a little bit with Greg about finding the volunteers that are really on their game and go to the parklands and know what they're looking for and know what they're doing, to be able to go out and mark an area with like a little pink string that says, you know, there's some invasives growing in this little spot that maybe you didn't notice. Or they're willing to, on schedule, water the new trees that get planted in the riparian buffer, or keep an eye on the cutting back of the honeysuckle and staying on top of that. These like certain groups of people that are like, yes, I will, and they'll report back regularly. I know I did this. I'll keep certain track of that. I can then show that to you and say, oh, well, this area, you guys can say this area has been ignored. Maybe I can say, okay, so somebody get over here and keep an eye out over here, or give them sections of the park, something like Larry said. The area, like this is their spot, and keep an eye on things and keep us up to date, so that our eyes are there regularly. And then we can do little stuff like spray paint them, dumping, like all that kind of stuff. If you bring it to us, what we want to do is help as much as possible, but obviously, which doesn't seem like we're going to even be able to, is to not take work from you guys. It seems like you have more than enough to be busy. Right, that's the goal. Okay, statue donation.
This
Yeah.
is a resident called. At this point, it was probably a month ago. I still have her contact information sitting on my desk. She wants to donate the statue that's currently on private property in the borough to us. I have some concerns just about general liability, maintenance, what happens. It looks like it's kind of already starting.
It looks like it's cement, so it's already being worn by the elements.
Yeah. She is willing, if we want it, she is willing to pay transportation costs to get it to where it's going to go. But again, then my next question or concern would be when it's outlived its life.
How big is it? Like 6 foot long?
I have the dimensions.
64 inches.
Yeah, it's 64 inches wide by 3 feet deep by almost 3 feet high. So maybe like the length of this table.
I mean, I have long-term visions with a friend of mine of like setting up a nonprofit and creating a whole sculpture garden somewhere in the parklands. This isn't really what my vision was.
But if you think of the parklands as including our section down by the museum has a stretch with a lot of sculpture.
Right.
And our part of that section, we're the port stepchild. Our walkways, they have macadam. We have gravel on a good day. You know, theirs is just well better funded than ours is, and that's fine. So if we're going to do something like that, to me, it makes sense, sort of close to their sculpture.
Maybe we should just
Cost
tell them
line.
to donate it to the museum.
Yeah, I just don't think it's cement, which means it needs to be sealed or it's just gonna freeze and crack. I had 2 beautiful cement statues and I didn't seal them.
Yeah, Tony's.
So I don't know if it's something we want to be doing. It's not for you. But you also mentioned Penn State. I don't know.
Lion.
Yeah,
That was my initial thought, is that would make a lot of sense at Penn State.
yeah.
It's not on the agenda, but it kind of falls under this because it was mentioned. Stuff we have currently that people have, like benches and stuff, it just happened.
Yeah, this week.
At the tennis courts, there was 2 benches there that were donated, and they're in need of just maintenance, which is great. But anything we get and we allow people to donate, then what's the
We're stuck with it.
yeah, we're stuck with it, and then do we get things re-engraved? It's just something that it comes up and then it goes away for a while and then it comes back up again.
I showed Greg examples of other
or it might be a $500 plaque to get in memory of, and that gives you 5 years, but then at the 5th year, it's another $100 to maintain that plaque, because work's gonna be done, and it falls on these guys to pay for it. So it's great that you did $500 donation, that's amazing stuff, but long term, it gets stuck on them.
And I just don't know that this fits what we're working towards.
Trees are great. We had a lady that donated a dogwood in memory of somebody. We planted it for her and stuff. And the kids actually broke it. She got another one and we planted it. I don't know if that would be a better route than benches.
Yeah, this wasn't something we should just came to us.
Yeah. This is a random phone call to the receptionist of, hey, I have a statue. Do you want it?
So we do have a motion on the table to approve, deny, or table and the council accept donating. And
You know.
form, my opinion would be to deny. If somebody wants to make another motion. Decline the offer. I second that. All in favor? Thank her very much, if you wouldn't mind, say this doesn't fill a lot of projects right now.
I'm just gonna be grateful to get that sticky note off my desk.
Thank you for pushing it. Okay, the next one is a peace pole installation, which is the Rotary Club. I don't know if any of you looked at the link and saw the peace poles. That's a very basic thing. I don't know if we have maintenance to that once that, if that were to go in.
The Rotary would maintain it.
Okay.
I think the initial request is for the Stone House, to put it at the Stone House. I think a follow-up request was somewhere elsewhere in the parklands. If you're gonna say yes to it, to me, I think keeping it at the Stone House would make the most sense. But
I mean, she was saying, if I recall, or he, I don't know who was emailing, was saying that the languages that they were choosing to put on this were related to students.
so they have a student exchange program where they send students overseas and then they take in students from overseas. So the student exchange committee and the students that are actually coming here this year would be part of the installation project, but then their native languages are the languages that would be chosen for the poll.
Does it make more sense to be at the school since we're relating to students' languages? Or the library? Or the library, actually, the library would be a lovely place for it.
And visible.
No, the library would be a great place. Yeah, I just feel like if we're accommodating these 8 languages of these students, and we're talking about the students, it should be the school board.
It's less likely to get vandalized, and I would think at the
The
library.
library has a garden, like,
Yeah.
decent in there, but grass might be. I
Um,
don't know this thing.
I guess the first thought is everybody on board with one of these schools? No.
No objection. It just depends on the location. I would object to being in the part of the parkland we're trying to keep natural.
How many message polls are we gonna, I mean, to me, this is the first of a zillion requests we're gonna get for polls. I mean, this is, it's not gonna end with this one.
So then the thought is maybe either, I mean, I feel like it's students, it should be school related in my mind.
I mean, if the commission wants to deny the request, I can simply respond to her and say, there's concerns about setting a precedent, vandalism, et cetera, et cetera. However, the commission suggested you reach out to either the school district or the library about those potential locations
I feel like those locations would be
that are suited. Yeah.
to it versus in the parklands. And the library is sort of still new to us.
Or clock tower down there.
No, that's something else we have to take. It's ours.
Well, that's long enough.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh my.
my.
Yeah.
It's a common area.
Yes.
Okay, so the thought is maybe to try to push this towards the library and or the school. Okay. So So then I will make the motion. Deny recommending council allow the peaceful to go at Stonehouse or Parklands. Yeah, ask that Michelle go up. School whatever. All those in favor? Sorry. All in favor? Okay. All right. Okay. Forester plan.
So one of the recommendations of the Parkland study was that we have a forest management plan proposed. Ideally, it would be for the entire parkland system. Immediately, we're focusing on one management unit, it's 3A, of the overall parklands. That management unit takes you from the Highlands Cambridge Avenue parking lot, basically up and over the hill to Flannery Field. So it's about 30 acres. Greg and I, along with Larry Lloyd from Berks Nature, well, no longer with Berks Nature, but at the time with Berks Nature, met with Jacob Schultz, who owns Schultz Forest Management and Consulting. That was probably 2 months ago at this point. Jacob is a very busy man, but he prepared a proposal to create that plan for us, which is $3,000. We would then use that plan to apply for larger state-funded grant applications to actually implement the plan, which is going to cost a lot of money. So there you can see the map, the area in question. We saw in the, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes we were out there kind of walking the loop, we saw, 11 deer? I think Jacob's comment was, if you see them, you got a problem. And that is going to likely be one of the recommendations of his plan, is how to deal with the deer in that specific area. He also, good, not good, I don't know. It's not the worst forest he's ever seen, but it's definitely not the best. So I don't think he told us anything we didn't already know.
Yeah, so there's not much.
Yeah. If this is recommended to council to consider for approval, the 3,000 could come out of the 20,000 we've budgeted for 25 for implementation of the plan. Actually, based off the timing and Jacob's schedule, he's probably not going to get to this until fall, early winter, that this would be a 26 expense anyway. So we could either, whatever we haven't used at the end of 25 from that 20,000, we could reserve and add to for 26 and earmark this as something to be paid for out of it.
How is this forester selected?
He's the only one that they're apparently,
Lack of options.
yeah, I mean, they're not,
Larry, like,
yes.
always supports.
Yes,
Yeah,
they've done
Larry's
plenty of
special.
plans for Berks Nature. Ironically, him and I are both Tulpe graduates, though he was long after my time. But he also, I think let me go back to did I close out of it? No. His qualifications and expertise, I think, speak for itself. He's done a lot of projects. Yeah.
It sounds like this is the key to getting more money.
Yes. Hopefully
Yeah, our forest.
a lot more money in a very niche area of people that are asking for it.
Being Jim and I were foresters.
You went to the wrong school.
No, not that.
You can go to
State will
Penn
do
State.
this for you. They will help you do that, yeah. You need that word, I almost sure that, right, Jim? They'll work on it. They're talking about basal area and trees.
I feel like if that were an option, Larry would have known that, though,
Yeah.
because Larry's pointed us.
$3,000 to have a guy who's gonna produce it.
There's also a possibility the conservation district will fund this, but we won't know that until fall. I mean, Larry's. I'm sorry.
Would they fund it after the fact?
Well, we wouldn't. If we approve the proposal, as long as we haven't outlaid funds, we're fine. And he's not going to start before October anyway. But Larry has pointed us in the direction of multiple state grants to apply for this, that, or the other thing. So I guess I'd be surprised if there were state funding out there for something like this.
I would contact the district about this.
Of the conservation district?
Of the forest.
Oh.
Down
there's time to do that and come back to the next meeting, depending on what you want.
You do get recommendations.
But will they do an actual plan?
Do you know that horse plan? That was my question, did you look at it? No. Like, yeah, I mean, he's talking, I mean, you can take a quick glance at it, I don't know if the state does this, if you can think of it off the top of your head.
I know they do it for their own properties. I've never heard of them doing it for other property owners, even municipal or county. But I mean, I can certainly make a phone call and ask.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I guess it's worth at least making a phone call and asking. Yeah. Well, our next meeting
September.
will be September, yeah.
I mean, put it this way, I will have an answer definitively as to whether or not the state does this between now and the August council meeting. Yes. Yep.
So we could, assuming, we could make a motion to approve recommending council approve the proposal provided by Schultz with the understanding that the state cannot provide the same services for free or for a lower fee.
I would just say contingent upon the Department of Forestry not providing a plan for free.
Plan, right. Okay. Do you agree with that? Okay, I'll make that motion. All those in favor? Okay. Next topic is playground use dusk to dawn. Is it my understanding that when we sort of removed the restrictions on the parklands, or did we leave the restrictions on the parklands?
So
We removed them on everything?
we took the entire language out that said
Okay.
you actually had to look at the definition of parklands in the ordinance. And it still didn't call out playgrounds specifically, but there was nothing that brought playgrounds back in. So out of an abundance of caution for anyone to be able to definitively point and say we meant everything but the playgrounds, it's just cleaner to put this language back in.
That makes sense to you guys? Yeah, any questions about it? Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve, to recommending council authorize advertisement, adoption of ordinance 1454, 2025 to restrict use of playground areas from dusk to dawn. I'll make that motion. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Burke's Rocks. Did they install that yet? Do we have, it's there?
They had a lot of trouble with the first go round. They're still on the head of the snake. It was very intricate and very detailed, and people stole, I think, the first 6
Oh my
eggs in
God.
there. And now the latest one has been up there for a few weeks and it's broken in.
Is there a way to like
I'm in
cement the
Boulder.
stone to a rebar and stick it in the ground just for the head?
They were looking at some options.
That's not
Maybe
ours.
like at least a little harder.
That's just an
rather than
example.
sticking it in your pocket. Is it in the, it's in the pines, right?
It's gonna have babies.
I'm just wondering what the
Well, they
extent
have
is.
60,000 followers.
That's the shit out of it.
And they looked at it as an opportunity to push people into our park. We've partners with them on several different things on the rec side. We've got a great relationship with them, they came to us, and they get a lot of engagements with them.
But anybody can add a stone, so
You can also take a step.
Go take them all, Lucy.
Take them out. How long is the snake right now? Do you know?
She didn't have an end date.
No.
Oh, like how long, like right now, if you walk out there right now? It's
I
like
haven't been to
maybe
it in a
10
couple
feet,
weeks.
have you seen it?
I'm gonna add that to my agenda for tomorrow. Field trip.
About 10 feet long.
So you can take a stone or leave a stone.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the rocks.
And
If
then
you leave them in the
people
woods
find
and then somebody
them,
finds
and then
them.
other people find them, the city finds them, and keeps them. And then
They're
she sees them, she'll
the
put them
little,
there. All the other pages are,
not
so I
trolls.
think that's in the house.
It's tomorrow's
Yeah.
email.
like right on the tip of my tongue. Gnomes.
It's adults and kids, they paint a rock with sometimes a motivational or just a pretty scene and they stick it somewhere and then somebody finds it and it's just random gift.
A bird's name?
Yeah.
That's not what I thought.
They were leaving them in the
Maybe not.
parkland already.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I've been annoyed already.
Okay, implementation of parkland stewardship study.
The only real update on here, well, two. Greg was contacted by Bimbo Bakery, which that name just makes me giggle. I know it's like Bimbo bread. They wanted to donate 6,000 towards either, it sounded like stain material for a gazebo or upkeep of the parklands, and the money is already in materials and supplies for the stain. So, in us discussing it, it's like, I think we'd rather take the 6,000 and put it towards implementation of the parkland study. So I didn't put a formal motion on here because I don't think we need one. But just an FYI, unless I see lots of heads shaking in opposition, yeah,
We don't have to make a motion to accept the donation.
we don't for other things. I mean, it's no different than all the donations Randy gets for the rec board. We don't make motions to accept them.
And how it started, they're gonna come do some staining at the pavilion.
They wanna do some work.
Yeah, and then she came up with it and said, "You wanna do any money?" I'm like, "Okay."
If you have a contact there that I could reach out to and say, if you have anybody who wants to continue with health, and I can add them to my outreach committee. That would be great. I heard I can thank them.
And then
So how do we thank neighbors?
We-
Thank you on our social media.
we could do a resolution of appreciation. Yeah, we could do a resolution of appreciation by council. We've done that for other.
Well, but then you think like ROG gives money for the fireworks and they don't do that.
Yeah.
Although they're on signs, I guess, they're all sponsorship signs for the events. This is a sponsorship sign.
Purchase and eat Bimbo Bakery honey buns.
Do they make honey buns? I thought they were just bread.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying, no, we don't want a sign.
You should start ordering, refreshments for these meetings.
$5,000 lunches.
And thank them.
Yeah.
Try and get work for you also. But if we wanna do a motion or whatever that is.
The other thing I just wanted to bring to the commission's attention is I found out about a week and a half ago that Larry Lloyd is no longer with Berks Nature. He is working as an independent contractor. Greg and I both have his updated email and cell phone contact information. And Jim, Greg, and I kind of talking about this, not knocking Berks Nature, but to us, Larry is what we need, not per se the umbrella of Berks Nature. So when I talked to Larry last week, I said I would update the commission. He is more than willing to stay on as an independent contractor working with us. We went over the threshold requirements for even telephonic bids. So basically, as long as costs stay under $12,900, which we're not going to come anywhere close, we're fine to move forward with him. That he would just submit a W-9 and then paperwork, and kind of how we pay other subs. We just submit it through payables. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that.
Do we have any finalization on the Rotary Club?
They still did not announce grant awards. Totally separate committee voting on that.
That's good. That's finalized? for the
Yes.
10,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've actually received that money already.
The mini grant, we're just unsure of the Rotary Club.
Correct.
Does anybody else have any questions about the parkland study? Okay. Next is the November meeting date. I guess it's the Wednesday with Thanksgiving. Do we want to move that up a week? Are we all on board with that? Yeah. The 19th, yes. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve recommending the meeting here to November 19th. Well, that's not the next one, that's just the Thanksgiving one. That's
Correct. The November one.
The November one to November 19th. Do I have a second? All those in favor? All right. I think we covered it.
Council doesn't have to approve that, does it? Council doesn't have to approve that, does it?
Okay. Thank you. I'll reach out to you guys about times. Get that moving.
Jenna, if you let me hit the ladies' room before my bladder explodes, I wanted to talk to you then about
Whatever,
pen bid.
whatever.
I'm not, like, this is one of those. Can I get up?
Can you walk without crossing your legs?
Yeah, off that little, on the hill, yeah. Roll down the hill.
It was like a
He's actually-
the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Wheels. Wheels. I did that when I was a kid all the time. Yeah, so-
You're right. You're gonna be there. We'll be on. Nice meeting you. They used to be, that's the problem. I'm just curious. They were. Oh, not 10, oh, I might be wrong, 23, sorry, 23.
Charlie's dad. He was like, oh, he hasn't been one yet.
Past that, way past that.
And then he's also on that.
It's a Bucks County. Chester County.
Route 100 crosses.
100, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big school up there on the left.
That's before.
I just learned.
I only